So, today I'm going to talk about a recent novel that I read, the celebrated American novel called Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. The novel is set in the 1930s, the era of the Great Depression, and has various themes that I found relatable. So, the story starts with Tom Joad, a convict recently released from prison and heading home to his family. He meets Casey, a former priest who he knew from his childhood, and they realize that the family has lost their farming land and has been evicted. They finally meet them at Tom's uncle's house. The family, like thousands across the state of Oklahoma, have heard of some farming jobs in California and plan to move there. So the majority of the book is in the journey to California and the events that take place to the family members. Pa and Ma Jode, their elder sons Noah, Tom, and Al, their pregnant daughter Rosa Shern and her husband Connie, their younger children Ruthie and Winfield, Grandpa and Grandma Jode, and Uncle Jode. So Grandpa Jode, unable to get over the loss of his lifelong home, dies along the way, and later so does Grandma Jode. Along the way, Connie abandons his wife, and Noah, disillusioned by the dream of California, leaves the family as well. So, the family meets a man called Floyd who conveys the reality of California. The pay is poor, the people starve in unsanitary camps, and the mass numbers of migrants empower the business owners to exploit the pay regularly. Casey gets killed when trying to instigate protests against the exploitative labor conditions. The family faces various other trials as they slowly lose money for gas, begin to starve, and face hostile strangers that refer to them as Okies. I'm not going to spoil the ending of the book, but there is a movie starring Henry Fonda for those who'd like to catch the story either way. John Steinbeck saw this novel as his way of putting a tag of shame on the people who exploited others during the Great Depression. His writing career, also including the book East of Eden, which is also another great book I'd recommend, earned him the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1962. What I liked about this book was that Steinbeck immediately plunges into the harsh reality of the Depression. He uses a colloquial language that shapes the characters in my mind. One of the themes that runs through the book is the notion of family and togetherness. Ma Jode, the matriarch of the family, insists on them staying together despite many tensions that arise within the family. The idea of the family is contrasted by the sense of other. This occurs parallelly in the book. As they go to California, they are confronted by many people that are openly hostile. So much so that I recognize the term Okies as immediately as derogatory, despite never having heard of this. In a setting of poverty, starvation, and general lack of money, the immediate distrust of newcomers is a particularly poignant storyline that resembles today's rising xenophobia across the world. Within the unit of the family, a powerful theme that stood out to me is that of the woman. Ma Jode is the matriarch of the family, and much of the family's tough decisions fall on her. This quote, "It was her habit to build up laughter out of inadequate materials," is a quote I found so riveting because the mother made up the backbone of the family with her grit. With the depleting money, their constant travel, a pregnant daughter who was abandoned by her husband and so became depressed, and two children who never fully realized or are aware of their predicament, the stress of feeding her family is obvious and runs as an undercurrent throughout the book. Even in the conventional gender roles played out by the family, not unlike my parents' and grandparents' generations. The author found a way to celebrate her while refusing to shy away from the very harsh reality of the era. This book, reading it during the pandemic, also makes it very hard hitting and powerful, and I definitely recommend it for a good read